So this is part 5 of the previous videos. Gonna move on though. If you don't understand what I'm saying, just go back and watch the other videos. So I took a look at Super Bowl 50. Interesting, it's the 50th Super Bowl, but it's the 46th modern era NFL championship game. And 46, like I said, if the Chiefs win, it'll be the first time in 46 years. Levi's Stadium adds up to 46 in gematria. Also, I think that the Jamal Charles injury, for whatever the reason, might be the reason that they're going to win the Super Bowl. And especially considering he got hurt when they played the Bears, and the Bears were the one who won the 1986 Super Bowl after the Kansas City Royals won in 1985. Interesting too, as I was just reading through some of the stuff, I was looking through some articles, and we got this article on Yahoo, Bears legend William Refrigerator Perry hospitalized in Chicago. And he has bad diabetes, but he was a football player who played for the Chicago Bears the year that they won that Super Bowl using the 46 defense and whatnot. He also played for the Philadelphia Eagles the same year that Joe Montana played for the Kansas City Chiefs. And they could have came out with this for a number of reasons, because I see he even played college at Clemson. Clemson is going to play in the college championship game that's on 111, kind of like 111. We talked a whole bunch about that number dealing with the Royals win. Also dealing with the Kansas City Chiefs as well. Interesting, his name in gematria adds up to 71. It even talks about how in his career he had 5 fumble recoveries, which he returned for 71 yards. He even has the largest of any professional football player in history, his Super Bowl ring. It's a size 25. Remember, 25 adds up to 50. Also, in regards to Clemson, Alabama is who they play. Alabama adds up to 31 and 13, just like Houston. So I guess if Alabama wins against Clemson, I would assume that Houston is going to beat the Chiefs. So anyway, back to Super Bowl 50 here. As you scroll down, you notice how it's not called Super Bowl L, like a Roman numeral. It's called Super Bowl 50, the actual number. What's interesting, it says here, the NFL announced that the practice of branding Super Bowl games with Roman numerals, a practice established at Super Bowl 5, would be temporarily suspended. So, interesting, Super Bowl 5 took place on January 17th of 1971. So just another 71 reference. This one is all about, it's Levi's Stadium, it's all about Moses. Moses adds up to 71. Super Bowl 50, when you write it out, adds up to 71. World War III adds up to 71. Also, the band Coldplay got chose to play at the halftime show. I seriously hate this band, but the real reason I believe that they chose Coldplay to play the halftime show is because they have this new album out called A Head Full of Dreams. And the interesting thing about this album is they have this song here called Kaleidoscope. It's even a minute 51 long. I'll explain that in a second. But on this song, they have its sample of Barack Obama singing Amazing Grace at Clementa Pinckney's funeral. And we've talked so much about Obama being assassinated. This was a big part of it. He sung at Clementa Pinckney's funeral. He was in the Charleston church shooting, and there was 9 people who got shot, and this funeral was 9 days later. That sticks out to me because Abraham Lincoln was shot 9 hours and 9 minutes before he died. Also, Clementa Pinckney was even 41 years old, which ties back into Skull and Bones. Also the Jamal Charles thing. His name in gematria adds up to 71. Also this album called A Head Full of Dreams. It came out on December 4th. Interesting, it's 71 days before the first day of Lupercalia. I even forgot to mention that the Kansas City Chiefs mascot is called Casey Wolf, and Lupercalia is all about celebrating and sacrificing the wolf. But in regards to, political assassinations and whatnot, we've talked about how Barack Obama is the 44th president. Lots of political assassinations tie into the number 44 and 144. Martin Luther King Jr. died on 4/4 in the year 68. Barack Obama adds up to 68. Interesting, this is called A Head Full of Dreams. I mean, what do you remember? Martin Luther King Jr., he had a dream, so I don't know. Just makes me wonder. So the track, like I said, was 1:51 long as well, which really sticks out. I've talked about this a long time ago, 151. All ties into Valentine's Day. They've just coded Valentine's Day a whole bunch. Interesting, the album A Head Full of Dreams also adds up to 151. Just like Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ also equals 74. Remember, 74 days after the Super Bowl is Queen Elizabeth's birthday, and then 74 days after her birthday is July 4th, 7/4. So just kind of interesting. Ben Franklin Bridge, I've mentioned a lot in videos. Ben Franklin Bridge, 151. Interesting too, Denver, Colorado adds up to 151. If you type 9th president to die in office, which Obama will be the 9th president to die in office, that adds up to 151. Also, Cornhuskers, 151. It all ties back into the Civil War theme. The Teen Wolf even showed that. Also, Coldplay adds up to 34, which ties all back into the Civil War theme again. And the Chiefs will have, or Alex Smith will have his 34th win as a Chief if he wins the Super Bowl this year. Also, while I'm on it, Abraham Lincoln died on this day. Pope Francis was born on this day. So Pope Francis was even born 71 years after Abraham Lincoln died. I also, in my comments, I had this right here. Philadelphia Eagles equal 150. Exactly 150 months between the murders of the two best Eagles, Jerome Brown and Reggie White. Reggie White killed exactly on 12/26/04, exactly 11 years before the last game of Chip Kelly. So interesting that 11. Also, 12/26/15 is exactly 11 months from 11/26/16, where a lot of people have estimated the start of World War III. But Reggie White adds up to 71 in Gematria, just like World War III. Reggie White was killed exactly 11 years, 11 months before the estimated date of World War III that people have been talking about. He also wore 92. World War II ended on September 2nd, 1945. But that all really does tie back into it, because in Gematria, Lincoln, Nebraska also adds up to 150. Also, the word 105 adds up to 150. And there's a ton of 105 references. Blood moon, equinox, masonry, Zionism. The last blood moon of the Tetrad or whatever was on September 28th. That adds up to 105. We have gay marriage this year. 9/11 adds up to 105. But also Amazing Grace, right? So Obama sung Amazing Grace at Clementa Pinckney's funeral. But also Amazing Grace, the small way, adds up to 60, which ties in again. Abraham Lincoln adds up to 60. Lincoln, Nebraska adds up to 60. Even this year then, 1960 will be 56 years ago. Abraham Lincoln died at the age of 56 in the year 65. In Washington, D.C., that adds up to 56. Also in the month of April, the only month that adds up to 56. Also in regards to the World War II comment, it ended in 1945 on 9/2, but the day of the Super Bowl, the date numerology adds up to 45. Remember I talked about 45 tying into Valentine's Day. Also, this album here, A Head Full of Dreams, it's 45 minutes, 45 seconds long. World War II, though, it actually ended with Harry S. Truman being the president. really, really sticks out. Harry S. Truman, the 33rd president. And I mean, look at this. He died the exact same day as Reggie White in 1972. Let's bring this comment back up. Reggie White died on 12/26 of '04. So 32 years later, Reggie White dies. Also, Harry S. Truman he died in Kansas City, Missouri, where the Kansas City Chiefs play. He was even 88 years old, the only president to die at the age of 88. Interesting, that kind of ties into Back to the Future. Back to the Future adds up to 176, just like Harry S. Truman. You know, the DeLorean had to get up to 88 miles an hour. Even if you write up the date of the Paris attacks this year, November 13th, 2015, it adds to 176. Also, Queen Elizabeth became the queen in 1952, which is 176 years after 1776. Her husband is even 1,776 days older than her. Also, Harry S. Truman was born in Lamar, Missouri. Doesn't necessarily have to mean anything, just an interesting thing here is that the Kansas City Chiefs were actually founded by a guy named Lamar Hunt. And he's the one who brought them from Dallas to Kansas City. Also, dealing with Amazing Grace, Aretha Franklin sung Amazing Grace for Pope Francis on 9/26 in Philadelphia. I'm not sure what that all quite means or how it ties in yet, but interesting to point out, Pope Francis even used Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address lectern when he gave a speech in Philadelphia this year. And when Obama sang to the time she sang, it was a span of 92 days. So 92, the small way adds to 46, just like Chicago. 92, the big way, adds up to 145, just like Chicago, Illinois. Obama and Abraham Lincoln are the only two presidents to come out of Illinois politically. So who knows? I think it's just more foreshadowing of what's to come for Barack Obama. Also, 92 days on that span is exactly 3 months. 3 months even adds up to 145. If you go from the day Aretha Franklin sang to the day of the Super Bowl, it's a span of 4 months and 12 days, similar to 4/12, the day that the Civil War began in 1861. And if you go from the day Obama sang it to the Super Bowl, it's a span of 32 weeks and 2 days, similar to the 322, the Skull and Bones number. Also 226 days. Interesting, if you write this out as a date, 2/26, it's the 57th day of the year. Obama is currently the 57th term president. Then you also had Alex Smith, who was born on 5/7. Andy Reid is 57 years old. Also, 2/26 Gregorian is the same as 2/13 Julian, so the first day of Lupercalia. Interesting, if you go the other way, from 2016 to the 1-year anniversary of Obama singing Amazing Grace, it's a span of 4 months and 19 days. 4/19 is the day of the first death in the Civil War. So, I mean, Aretha Franklin would have sang it 4 months, 12 days like the beginning of the Civil War. And then Obama's 1-year anniversary of it would be like the first death in the Civil War. So funny, also on this album, A Head Full of Dreams, it says on September 26th, so the same day that Aretha sung Amazing Grace, Coldplay played in New York City a 6-song set list, including a new song called Amazing Day. I don't know, it just stands out to me, Amazing Grace, and then they sing Amazing Day that no one's ever heard of. It says they're even going on tour, and it's starting in South America on March 31st, 2016. That's an interesting day because it would be 31-3, kind of like 3/13, the day that Pope Francis became the Pope. I also talked about that day dealing with Kanye West. It's 139 days after the Paris attacks. Mark of the Beast adds up to 313. And Pope Francis is from Buenos Aires. Amazing Day even adds up to 101, like Philadelphia. Interesting, the Pope was in Philadelphia that day. But I got one more part, so I'll see you in part